At this rate, I'm going to have 20 videos on 1999 alone. Anyway, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I need to get going in an hour to get to Halloween Horror Nights this but I'm going to continue valiantly to make at least one more video, maybe a couple more before I leave, alright? Because I'm doing it for you. For you. That's the kind of guy I am. Alright. Now, I was talking about The Mummy, the movie from 1999. What's his name? Stephen Sommers movie. Okay, so these guys opened the box, the 4 guys, right? And the mummy is a desiccated corpse. He needs to take their some of their each one's bodily organs, not just from one guy, but a little bit from each of the 4, because it's the curse. It has to be done this way. That's the spell. And by doing that, from sucking the life energy out of, he becomes a little more human, a little more human. When he gets all 4, he's completely human and has all his power, right? Until he does that, he can be destroyed, he's weak, he doesn't have all his power, okay? Now they know that, and he's already sucked one guy, and you have the other 3 guys who are still alive, and they know that these are the guys he's coming after, right? Now, it's already happened that the cat scared the mummy shitless. Why, for God's sakes, didn't they just go around and get every freaking cat in Cairo and put them in the room with those 3 guys? You know? Why didn't they do that? I mean, they know that will drive the mummy away, and he can't touch those guys if there's cats there. Why didn't they just go out and get a whole mess of cats and put them there? I mean, duh! It's like the Lord of the Rings with the eagle thing flying, you know. Why didn't you just fly over it? Oh, well. But you see, if they did that, there'd be no movie. Yeah, I know that, but it's called plot hole. Anyway, so I don't have 952 videos on this year alone. Let us now proceed. So, last gasp, mummy, cool, tie into the movie. I got that right away. Okay, wonder what's else is going to happen. Again, didn't have the internet, didn't look at the website, so I know only from, you know, the few pictorial advertisements I see, like the billboards. But last gasp, that kind of worried me. And I began to hear a rumor that the reason this was called, and the rumor was heard at Disney where I worked, right? People at Disney were saying, oh, this is going to be the last Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. It's not working. They're going to have to close it down. They're not going to do it ever again. I mean, you hear this frickin' rumor all the time. In fact, Sodomite was trying to spread the same damn rumor earlier this year, saying that 20 was going to be the last time they ever do Halloween Horror Nights. I have heard the same stupid rumor over and over again. But the first time I heard this was in 1999, because people at Disney or wherever, and it usually comes from Disney or Busch Gardens or someplace that competes with Universal. Someone with a grudge against Universal will start trying to spread a rumor saying it's not gonna, they're gonna stop doing it. They're gonna stop doing Halloween Horror Nights because they're calling it Last Gasp. See, that means it's the last one. There won't be another one because this is the last gasp. So next year they're not going to have the event. It's going to be done forever, done, never more. And I thought, you know, each year it gets bigger and makes more money. This don't make no sense, you know, in business. It just don't make no sense. So I thought, well, I'll ask somebody. Now, it just so happens, remember I talked about Spencer's? It just so happens that time of that particular era, when I wanted to go buy tickets for Halloween Horror Nights, yeah, you could go all the way to Universal Studios and buy a ticket, but buying your tickets in advance seemed like a smart move, so in case, you know, the time you want to go sells out. So, since driving all the way to Universal from where I'm living in Winter Park is a long haul, I do go to Disney back and forth every day at that time, but it'd be a lot easier to buy my tickets somewhere near. So I go over to the local Fashion Square Mall, just, you know, hop, skipping, you know, over into Orlando, and there it is. and I go to Spencer's and I can buy my tickets there. So that's what I was doing in those years, buy my tickets in advance at Spencer's Gifts. And while I was there, I asked the chick who was selling me the tickets, she goes, "No, they're not going to stop that. That makes more money than anything else at Universal." "Who told you that?" And I said, "That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Can you tell me anything else about the event?" "I don't know anything. I work at Spencer's, but they're not going to give me any secret information." Although actually, in 1999, the security wasn't that tight. You could find out before any of the billboards went up. You could find out what the image and the name of the event was going to be when they put out audition things in the newspaper, like way back in August. You would see this because they didn't have the billboards up until much closer to the event in those days. And so you could look. Oh, and the ad for looking for characters. There's a picture of the image for that year, the Mummy and Last Gasp. So you already knew from that. Again, the internet website, if it existed, didn't go up that early either. Because it wasn't like nowadays where they start teasing you in June, because that hadn't really gotten going yet. The fandom hadn't become this rabid army of obsessed lunatics. So, before I run out of time again, let's talk more about the event itself. Last Gasp ran for 19 nights, as had Primal Scream in 1998. So once again, 19 nights in the month of October. So it didn't get any bigger, but it didn't shrink either. Not yet. And once again, there were 5 lovely houses. 5. So the houses included some that were not recycled, sequels to earlier houses that had happened in the past, and some that were totally new and exciting. One of the first houses in the sound stages was called Psycho, Through the Mind of Norman Bates. This was a new version of Psychopath, which had played in early years of Halloween Horror Nights at the Bates Motel, but now they're putting it into a sound stage, and by doing that they could do more with it. And they did a pretty good job of having the whole Norman Bates thing. And, lots of shower curtains and mother jumping out at you from all sorts of parts of the Bates Motel and house. But what they wanted to do in this one was not just have recreate the film, but to make it look like you're in Norman's head. So you'd have knives everywhere, or the things that obsess his mind. And part of this was also cross-corporate promotion. Why? Because it wasn't just about 1960 Alfred Hitchcock Norman Bates. It was also about 1999 Gus Van Sant Norman Bates with this remake that came out the same year, which is almost shot by shot exactly the same movie, only in color, but with a couple of really weird things involving sheep. Hallucinations that popped up in a couple of weird places, and when Norman's peeking at Marion through the keyhole, and Marion's being played by future lesbian Anne Heche, future lesbian, then future heterosexual Anne Heche, because she kept changing. While this is going on, well, Norman is wanking. A bit unseemly. I don't think Alfred Hitchcock, well, he would have if he got away with it, actually, but he maybe not so explicitly. But right next to it, in an odd way, it was not like 2 parts of the same house, but thematically connected in an odd way, was another house called Insanity. So you have the insane mind of Norman Bates, then you have another house that's the insane mind of a whole bunch of other people. And Insanity continued a tradition that began way back with the Boneyard in 1993, and which would have ultimately find its purest expression at Halloween Horror Nights as Psychoscarapy, one of the most successful and popular franchises at Universal Studios Horror Night history, continuing even now with the current event. And they get haunted. But back then, before they started Psychos, they still had asylums, and this was the latest idea of mental patients taking over an asylum. It was called Insanity. And let me tell you something. This was one freaking intense house and had one of the biggest scares I have ever experienced in my entire 20, and all 20 times I've attended this event. One of the biggest scares I've ever experienced was in 1999 in Insanity. It may be the biggest scare I've ever had at Universal, ever. Dead Exposure in 2008 was a really awesome house. It also was quite terrifying, especially. But Insanity is one of the peaks, and I think it still tops it, because they pulsed it, okay? This is one of the few houses they really pulsed. And what they did was, they would only let a certain number of people in, and you're in this dark room, sort of a chamber, and this guy is like a guard or something, and he just yells at you in terrors, and then he's gone. And you're in this room all with these other people, sort of like an entrance or a holding cell or something. Suddenly, lights go out, and it's black. I mean, we're talking pitch freaking black. It's not just dark. You can't see shit. It is absolute blackness. And then you hear doors sliding open, and you hear dogs growling all around you. And they're snarling, and you can hear them right directional. I mean, it's like some kind of stereophonic sound thing. It's not just like and they're right there on your ass. And you hear this snarling, vicious dog, and then suddenly the dog grabs your freaking leg and starts to, start shaking it. And they grabbed you. They touched you and grabbed you. The dog, and in your mind, you're getting your leg chewed off by a vicious freaking Rottweiler, and you're freaking out. Then all of a sudden it stops, and the lights go back up, and you go on to the house. Let me tell you something. That is the most intense, scary fucking thing I've ever had at Halloween Horror Nights. I mean, they talk about the extreme house. That's as close to an extreme house I think you've ever gotten at that point, because you are freaking out. You're in total darkness, and the growling thing and it's grabbing you. It's actually got you. It's not like someone comes close. This thing's freaking got you. I don't know if they can ever do that again, because you actually touched a guest. That's bad. You're not supposed to do that. Well, this time they did, and it was amazing. That was. Again, I don't think I can. Any house I've been to recently has ever really topped that for sheer, unadulterated terror. Cat's here at my feet demanding pettings. Hi, Bob. All right. The rest of the house was also quite intense and insane, and there was stuff going on all over that room that boggles the mind. Bodies hanging around, and padded cells, and weird, freaky, insane people. Sort of stuff that would show up. Sort of stuff would show up in psychoscarapy in a couple years later. But this was done very well. So they were starting on down the path to psychoscarapy in those days. Now, there was also an evil clown in that house. An evil clown that looked very familiar if you'd been to Terror on Church Street. Sort of mad jester and everything. And that's another thing. In Insanity, they would try to put you in the mind of the insane patients to be disoriented. Sort of like, but not as silly as Disorientarium a couple years later. But you'd have that weird, freaky, insane thing going on, almost Funhouse with this, and this evil clown would come out, and sort of an evil jester. But it was a precursor to Jack in a way. Who would come next year? Another house was Universal's Creature Feature in 3D. This was similar to all those Universal House of Horrors, Museum of Horrors they had, except this was the first time they used 3D in a house. It wasn't there wasn't red-green 3D like this. We're talking clownovision. We're talking those gray glasses that actually don't make 3D, but creates the illusion of 3D by picking up certain colors and making them pop. And if you've been to the 3D house like Clownovision and you have your glasses still, you can put those on and get the experience. In this one, everything was bright day-glow colors. Bright orange, bright green, bright red. And when you put the glasses on, it was all like right here. And they did stuff in that house to freak you out. And interestingly enough, in addition to like Frankenstein, Dracula, I think there was a Wolfman also, and The Exorcist. There was one forest scene where the Wolfman would jump out at you. Before you do, you couldn't help but notice a certain interesting pattern floating in front of your face, seemingly in the trees. Sort of like this. that's right. I'm not sure. Maybe it's like this. I forget. But if that, you know, the Blair Witch Project. Oh, out of time. Out of time. Ooh, too long.